Malky, welcome to Hibernian FC. Before we get started in discussing your new role as sporting director, obviously there's been a reaction from supporters following the announcement and your appointment. What do you have to say to those fans?
I completely understand. Everyone has points of view. What I'd say is that to really judge me on the person that I am and you see going forward for Hibernian Football Club, I've been in Scotland 7 years. I've been in football for 30, but I've been in Scotland 7 years now and 4 years at the Scottish FA, nearly 3 years at Ross County. I've got such a passion for our game and for the club that I work for, the National Association I was with, that I would like just people to judge me for the person that they meet, they see that I am for their football club. And it's someone, as I say, I'm proud and privileged now to be working for Hibernian Football Club. So that being the case, I will do everything I can to make sure that we have success at this football club going forward, and they'll see someone that is driven and someone that is wanting to do the best for their club.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously the role of sporting director, that's a new role for Hibernian FC. Just give us an idea or a flavour of what that job actually entails.
Okay, so a sporting director, a director of football, a technical director, a performance director. A lot of the places it's semantics as to the name of that title. It's about high performance. It's about making sure that various different areas of a football club are working efficiently, properly, functioning transparently, and working cohesively. For example, at the Scottish FA, the performance director's role entailed looking after 7 national youth teams, sports science, medicine, talent identification, performance analysis, coaching, club academies in the country, and the 7 performance schools in the country. And it's not too different at a club. So it's to do with looking after our academy, overseeing our academy, making sure that pathway between the academy and hopefully either our kids getting through to our first team is a cohesive one. The performance school, or the relationship with the performance school, we're lucky enough that we've got one here in Edinburgh at Broughton School, and there's a lot of the Hibs kids in there. So that relationship has to be solid, because it's a fantastic programme and it's one that is going to really help our youngsters with the touches of a ball and coming through and hopefully ending up in our first team. Our analysis side of the club and the efficiency of it, and why, there's so much data these days. Why are we doing what we're doing? What it's helping? The sports science and the medicine side of the football club, to make sure that we are best practice, and that's a word I'll use again, but are we right on the cusp of where we should be in terms of making sure the players are as fit as they should be and keeping them fit and making sure that they're robust for actually going into the season and being on the pitch for our manager. Obviously the talent identification side, we need to make sure that our recruitment is as efficient as it can be, that we handle the squad properly, that if we're going to sell someone, we have got someone coming through behind that. At all levels there is an audit, that we know how many left backs we've got coming through in the club, all the way from youths all the way through to first team, for example. That we cut down the risk in a signing not working. That can never be 100%, but you can certainly do due diligence on that in terms of actually making sure that we have as much data and information on that player as possible, and that can also come from contacts and people that I've got all over Britain to actually make calls, and you find out a lot about people. We've got to make sure that talent identification side of it is as robust as it can be to help our team, to help our manager. And obviously that link between myself and what we're going to call the head coach, myself and the head coach, that has to be tight and close, and I'm there to support him. I'm there to support the staff, both at the mostly HTC obviously, but obviously we've got to do that in conjunction with all of our staff at the football club and the commercial side as well, because really in the end of it, what we've got to have is everyone pushing in the one direction. And I firmly believe if we do that, then our club will be in a strong place.
Yeah, you touched upon everyone pulling in the same and the right direction. I've listened to a couple of podcasts and interviews you've done, and one of the key terms that you used there was a people catcher. Just describe what you mean by that and how that can then help set the culture.
Sure, I was speaking to a German technical director, and the German word is Menschenfang, and it means people catcher, and it really means about someone that can put belief in others, that can make you end up pushing yourself to do something you don't think you can do, make players want to play for you, make staff want to work for you. And it's something that over time, and having spoken to a variety of successful leaders all over the world, it comes up again and again, and having people who have got that sort of personality that makes people want to work for them. And when you see it in these different organisations, from football clubs I've been at, to different sports, to special forces, to retail, it all comes down to the same thing, that leadership quality of people wanting to work for that person. And we've got to keep bringing that. It's something that I think is can help make a club successful. I see it often enough, and it's no coincidence that every time you see an organisation being successful, there is a leadership group that then draws on teamwork, and teamwork and leadership are the two things that if you can get right, and you get that, brings culture, that breeds culture, and it breeds a culture of people wanting to work together for a common goal and not working in silos and just looking after themselves. You know, you build something and you get behind something, you get behind people, and you drive in a particular direction. It can be very powerful. And any time I've actually won a promotion or we've won a cup, every time there's a situation where you can see fans, staff, players, directors, owners, all pushing in one direction. And I really firmly believe that that's the way forward for us at Hibs.
How does the sporting director role then work alongside a head coach and a chief executive?
Very closely. I was lucky enough to have that role. My first job as a young manager at Watford Football Club, I was to work with the sporting director and the chief executive, and we met every Wednesday. And we were in a very tough situation in terms of the financial situation at the club at the point. The chief exec's role was to sell the club in 2 years. The sporting director's role was to bring in £1 million every year in recruitment sales. And my job was to keep us in the championship in England. Those three circles don't touch. But they opened everything up to me, let me see everything. And in one sense that's great, in another sense I can't go and ask for £200,000-300,000 to go and buy a player. But at the same time, what it does is the three of us debate, discuss, argue, laugh, and work really hard together to make sure that all the aspects of the football club are pushing for the badge. And that's the important thing. If you're doing something and it's all about making sure it's the right thing for the Hibs badge, then invariably the correct answer will come. It'll be tough times and there'll be hard decisions had to make. But at the end of the day, if you're doing it for the good of the badge, then long term, and if the strategy is adhered to, success happens.
And obviously for you, this is a slight change. You were a manager earlier on in this season.
Sure.
Why now have you decided that you'd prefer to go down the sporting director route? Sure.
I think it's something over a period of time I've actually been drawn to more and more. As I said to you, as a manager in England, I was taken with the leadership roles and I've got into the organisation and seeing how they were run. And then obviously I got the 4 years at the Scottish FA's performance director, where that was absolutely something that was a key element to helping high performance with the Scotland teams, and being close to speaking to sporting directors, speaking to owners, chief executives in Scotland, and being in among round the clubs. And I think the more and more I see it, the more I realise that the structure of a football club and that group of people that stick together and have a strategy is where success comes from. The role I took on at Ross County with Roy McGregor was one where it nearly was the sporting director as well as the manager. I worked very closely with Stephen Ferguson, the chief executive, and Roy on a weekly basis, and I really enjoyed that role in trying to punch above our weight to keep Ross County in the Premier League every year. So it's an area that's fascinated me, and it's something that I absolutely see that there are a lot of clubs that still strive for a structure like that. The more and more now that you see individual owners coming in to take football clubs in Britain, never mind Scotland, in need of a structure. And when you look at how it's done well, really well, with the likes of Brentford and Brighton, who are reasonably unfashionable clubs in the grand scheme of English football, but have been incredibly successful in the Premier League in the last few years. And then you see other clubs languishing in maybe Division 1 that are huge entities historically, the badge, the stadium, the fan base, but actually are not well run football clubs, and that's why they're there. So that's something that fascinates me, and it's something that when the opportunity came around with the Gordon family and Ian and Ben, that the conversation came up, that it was something that we explored. And when I realised that they were actually absolutely describing the role that in the way that I think it should be, where I'm there to oversee the football side of the football club in all aspects and look for high performance in all of those areas I touched on, and be a support mechanism to the head coach, then that really excited me. Plus I look at the history of this football club. This is one of the biggest clubs in Scotland, having played against the club, managed against the club, been a guest of the club. I audited the football club's academy for the Scottish FA, worked closely with them. Some of the younger players played for me in the Scotland squads, and some of the staff I hired to come and work with us in the Scotland squads as well. It really was something that excited me. And as I say, once we had that conversation and it was agreed, then Hibs then get all of me 24/7 to make sure that this football club goes on to really achieve even more than it has before.
Yeah, and you'll be getting obviously pretty much straight to work. Obviously one of the first things on your list to do will be to find a new head coach. Before we touch upon that, obviously over the last kind of 2.5, 3 years, there has been quite a bit of managerial change at the football club, quite a few in obviously a short space of time. How do you think the role of a sporting director, a new sporting director comes in? How does that settle it down and create stability at a football club that does need it?
Yeah, there has, and I think over the last number of years, I don't think Hibs is the only club that's happened at. There's clubs all over the country, but all over Britain, where change has happened very quickly on a constant basis, and invariably that doesn't bring success with it. And I think that sustained success is the word really that we're striving for, and that over a period of time there is a calmness involved, and there is a direction of travel that is adhered to, and we all stick to a direction of travel that we agree on. And I think the fact that we've now got to go and make sure we go and look for a new head coach, that we go through a proper process again, but we make sure that we keep trying to find the best practice in the way that we actually do that, and we support and we back, and we make sure that the head coach has got everything that he requires to actually do the tools to do the job properly. It's not an exact science, as you've seen. You see that throughout Britain, but I think again what we've got to do is make sure that support mechanism is wrapped around him, and there is an open line of communication for him to myself, and I have that open line of communication from myself to our chief executive, to our board of directors and our ownership group, so that there is an explanation sometimes there as to this is what the manager's going through just now, this is what's happened, these are the factors. So there's a rounded and a balanced approach to everything in terms of that, with my football knowledge and experience of the last number of years.
What do you want from the new head coach? I know that's quite a difficult question to put you on the spot, obviously on your kind of first time speaking to us, but sure. What kind of qualities are you looking for? Well,
what I want in a new head coach is someone who can stand on a football pitch at training ground and coach and move a team around a pitch in what you would call shape, and put his ideas, impart his ideas with ease, and maybe even have under 100 people watching, so that there's pressure on him to be able to do that, to be able to coach with ease. Second thing I would want is him to be a student of the game. I'd want him to be broad-minded enough to take ideas from others, to realise when maybe one tactic is not working and in-game change is needed, that he strives for best practice and wants to learn from others, because we all should want to learn from people. We all should want to have mentors to an extent, and we should all be looking at other places as to what they're doing well and think, how can we adapt that to what we do. And the third thing is the people catcher, to have personality, to have someone who can make players want to work for him and make staff want to play for him, make a club want to wrap its arms around them, and make fans want to really want them. Those are three qualities, and it's not an easy thing to do, because sometimes somebody's really strong in one area, but it's my job to make sure that all three of those areas come out in someone.
Fantastic. And obviously that'll be the top of your priority list, but for the others, or the next few kind of weeks and months, what happens during that period? How long does it take to assess a football club, sporting departments?
Sure. Yeah, and you're right. Obviously, the first key task is to make sure that we find a new head coach. After that, quite quickly, our fans will want to obviously talk about the squad. So what players are we going to sign and what players are leaving the football club? So that audit of the first team squad as to where we are with people in contract, out of contract, the spaces that we can fill and that are needed, the people that may have to leave the football club, so that there is an efficient squad. We're not too bloated, and there is an efficiency to the squad. Now, that might take a number of transfer windows to do, that we get to a point where we know who's going into contract, coming out of contract, seeing out their contract, people we would like to move on, people that we would like to bring, youngsters we would like to bring through and have long futures at the football club, loans that we would like to put out and actually have a plan for that loan player. So that's obviously there as well. After that, you look at the first 2 or 3 months and actually go around the departments, speak to the heads of departments, and over a period of time, garner as much information as I can on those areas to see, are we on the cutting edge of best practice? What help do they need? What support do they need? And is there anything I need to tweak in these areas? Because these are all areas that lead to the head coach, that lead to the team, that lead to the badge. And that's what the most important thing, that, as I say, everyone at the training ground, our stadium, our fans, and our ownership, if they all concentrate on the badge, and every decision is taken for the best of the badge over a longer period of time, we will become successful.
Yeah, you touched upon the departments there. One person that I wanted to speak about was Brian McDermott. What was the situation with him, obviously, with yourself coming in?
Sure. Well, Brian's someone I know from my time down in England when he was the Reading manager, and he's done a good job in that whole scouting area down in England, I believe, maybe for Arsenal before he came up. At the moment, I believe that he moves over into a really focus on the recruitment side of it. But just as every other member of staff, we've got to look at every area and every facet as to what gives us the most efficiency in the most efficient area. And as I say, I'm hoping to go in and find leaders of departments that have got a real drive and an energy and a wish to want to make the company better, the club better, the team better. And again, if we all do that, then our badge is going to improve in terms of the results.
Yeah, just finally, just from talking to you, you seem really enthused, really excited to get started. Yeah. I suppose now you're just kind of waiting to get going.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, I start on June the 1st, and the conversations that I've had with Ben and with Ian and with Mrs. Gordon have been really exciting conversations. I've also spoken to the Black Knights group as well, and that's really intriguing, and I see the work that's gone on down at Bournemouth. So all of the above is something that I really want to get my teeth in to make sure that I come in here and I do my very best for Hibs. It's a terrific club. It's looking around it now, and the amount of history that's on the walls, it really excites me.
Fantastic. Well, it was great to have you here.
Thanks very much, Adam.